Imagine this scene. You're sitting with a group of friends, laughter and conversation weaving through the warm light. You are the eternal coordinator, the one who never says no. You chose the menu because you remember everyone's tastes and restrictions. You coordinated the time because your schedule is the most flexible. You guide the conversation because you always skillfully navigate around topics that might cause conflict. Everyone loves you. They say you're emotionally intelligent, that you know how to handle people, that it's so good to have you around. You smile, nod, and skillfully play this perfect role, a considerate, thoughtful, good person who always puts others' needs first. Your presence is like air, indispensable, yet taken for granted. But isn't this what you've always been taught? To be a good person, to fit in, to make everyone comfortable. You've succeeded. You've become the safe harbor where everyone else feels at ease. But in a fleeting moment, as everyone else is lost in laughter, a piercing chill runs through you. You look at your own smiling reflection, and a terrifying question emerges like a ghost. Is it really you that they like? Or do they just like the convenience you provide? The comfort? The sense of security that comes from never having to fear your rejection? Have you ever asked yourself in that moment of silence, if I were no longer the glue, would this circle of friends still exist? Or, more terrifyingly, if I disappeared, would they even notice? Or would they just quickly find the next convenient person like me? You begin to realize that your niceness, your agreeableness, your always on-call attitude is making you transparent. Your own will, your true preferences, your boundaries and principles, they are being eroded, dissolved, and ultimately rendered indistinct with every, it's fine, I'm okay with anything. You've become a function, not a living person. A tool to fulfill others' expectations, not an individual with a sovereign soul. And then the ultimate cruel paradox detonates in your mind. Why is it that the harder you try to be a better person, the more your sense of self-worth depreciates? Why does the more kindness you give, the less respect you receive? Why is it that the more you try to accommodate the world, the more the world treats you like a cheap backdrop? Are the moral codes we've been fed since childhood, be kind to others, be helpful, fundamentally wrong? Or is there a hidden, extremely dangerous trap on this path to nobility that we were never told about? This trap makes you believe that your value is determined by how much you are needed. So you desperately make yourself useful, always available, always on call. You've turned your time, your energy, even your emotions into an infinitely available public resource. You thought you were building connections, earning affection. But the truth is, anything that is infinitely available and has no barrier to access will eventually have its value approach zero. Like air, essential but not expensive. This feeling, this panic that you are becoming cheap, is not your imagination. It is not a simple mood swing, but a profound signal, one tied to the very laws of survival. It reveals a hidden dark law that governs the value systems of human society. And the most terrifying part of this law is that it only has power over you because the contract that devalues you, a contract you sign again and again, was drafted by you. That contract you drafted wasn't written on paper, but etched into the depths of your subconscious. It's an invisible operating system that governs your every automatic, yes, no problem, and you first. To understand the power of this contract, we must dive into the abyss of human nature, to visit the ancient forces that have shaped us, yet been forgotten by us. First, let's talk about the psychological roots of the good person identity. In childhood, each of us was like a helpless small animal, our survival utterly dependent on the goodwill of others, mainly our parents. To earn love, attention, and basic security, we quickly learned a survival strategy. Become a good child. Don't cry, don't make trouble. Meet the adults' expectations, and you'll be rewarded with approval. Thus, pleasing others and survival became inextricably linked in our nervous systems. This is a profound primal fear branded into our genes. If I am not lovable, I will be abandoned. If I am not useful, I will be forgotten. This survival anxiety from childhood didn't vanish as you grew up. It just put on a more respectable coat, shifting from pleasing parents to pleasing teachers, friends, partners, bosses, and eventually society as a whole. You think you're pursuing interpersonal harmony, but your subconscious, the terrified child who never grew up, is actually avoiding the pain of abandonment at all costs. Your agreeableness is in essence a defense mechanism. You are not actively choosing kindness. You are passively fearing isolation. Carl Jung would call this an overdevelopment of your persona. You have meticulously crafted a perfect, impeccable public image, the friendly, reliable, selfless you. This mask has won you a ticket into society, making you feel safe. But the problem is, you've worn it for so long you've forgotten there's a real face underneath. You've even started to believe that you are the mask. And every time you suppress your true feelings, your anger, your dissatisfaction, your fatigue to maintain this good person mask, that repressed energy doesn't just disappear. It flows into your personality's shadow. Living in your shadow is everything you deny about yourself, the selfish, angry, aggressive you who longs to be seen. The more you strive to play the saint, the darker, hungrier, and more powerful your shadow becomes. This is why many nice people suddenly have emotional breakdowns, committing destructive acts that are the polar opposite of their daily image. It's not that they turned bad. It's that they were devoured by the shadow they had been feeding for so long. Now, let's elevate our perspective to the philosophical level. Nietzsche issued the sternest of warnings against this kind of good person. In his view, this common form of goodness is not true strength, but a slave morality. It's a value system invented by the weak to survive in a world of the strong. Because the weak are powerless to fight back, they beautify their acts of necessity, patience, submission, humility into virtues. They dare not say, "I want," so they praise selflessness. They dare not take revenge, so they glorify forgiveness. Have you also fallen into this trap of slave morality? Have you packaged your weakness, your inability to refuse, to fight for yourself, to express your true thoughts as kindness and high EQ? You tell yourself, this is maturity, this is wisdom. But Nietzsche would point out with brutal clarity, this is not power. It is the lack of power. You are not choosing to be good. You simply lack the capacity for evil, or even the courage to envision a less good but more authentic way of being. This unconscious self-devaluation ultimately leads you into an existential void. You live for others, your value defined by their opinions. Sartre would say you are living in the hell that is other people's eyes. You have surrendered your freedom, your right to legislate for your own life. When a person gives up the right to define themselves, they become an object. And the value of an object is always determined by its user. This is the fundamental reason you feel you are becoming cheaper, because you have voluntarily given up the right to set your own price. You've turned yourself into a product on a shelf, labeled free samples and unlimited supply. You thought this would make you more popular, but the result is that people take what they want and then leave without a trace of attachment. Because no one will truly cherish something that can be easily, or even freely, obtained. This isn't the ugliness of human nature. This is the basic law of value. You might be thinking, okay, I admit, this good person model is a bit tiring, a bit unfair, but is it really that terrible? At least it keeps my life stable and conflict-free, right? This is precisely what makes the trap so insidious. Its destruction is slow, gradual. Like carbon monoxide poisoning, you lose all your strength without noticing until you can no longer move. Its erosion of your life is far more profound than occasional emotional slumps. It silently reshapes your destiny on 3 invisible levels. The first level is the narrowing of cognition and opportunity. When you habitually place others' needs above your own, your brain forms a neural superhighway. Whenever you face a choice, whether it's as small as what to eat for dinner or as big as a career path, your first reaction is always, what will others think? Or, will this make so-and-so unhappy? This mindset is what psychology calls external validation seeking. The direct consequence is that you gradually lose the ability to listen to your own inner voice. That faint voice representing your true desires is completely drowned out by the daily noise of external opinions. You no longer know what you truly want because you haven't asked yourself in so long. Your life decisions are no longer based on your passion, talent, or inner compass, but on a risk assessment report titled, How to Maximize Pleasing Others. And so, you miss the opportunities that truly belong to you. The ones that require a bit of risk, a bit of selfishness, a bit of disregard for others' opinions. You might pass up a risky startup idea for a stable but passionless job because your family thinks stability is more important. You might choose a suitable partner who doesn't ignite your soul because your friends all say they're a nice person. Your world, through these compromises made in the name of safety, becomes smaller, more predictable, and more dull. You are not living the life you could have lived. You are merely playing a safe role named you. The second level is the poisoning of relationships and the reversal of the law of attraction. You think your agreeableness will earn you healthy, loving relationships. But the reality is the exact opposite. Your limitless giving actually sends a dangerous signal to the world. My boundaries are violable. This creates a fatal attraction. People who truly know how to respect and cherish others will, paradoxically, feel uncomfortable with your lack of boundaries. They feel pressured in your presence because they don't want to take advantage of you. Yet you constantly create situations where they owe you. They will subconsciously keep their distance. And who is drawn to this infinitely available trait of yours? It's those with blurred boundaries, those accustomed to taking, and even those with narcissistic personality traits. Like sharks smelling blood, they can precisely detect the people-pleaser scent on you. In their eyes, you are not an independent individual deserving of respect, but a perfect supply source, a tool to satisfy their emotional, material, or egoistic needs. Thus, an absurd tragedy plays out in your life. You want to attract people who cherish you, but you draw in those who consume you. You want to avoid conflict, but you fall into deeper, more insidious emotional exploitation. The path you paved with kindness ultimately leads to a relational cage filled with vampires and parasites. You become lonelier because truly equal, healthy souls cannot dance with you on a severely imbalanced scale of value. The third, and most terrifying, level is the complete loss of self-identity. Playing the good person for too long will give you a kind of spiritual amnesia. You will forget that as an independent individual, you have inherent rights. The right to refuse, the right to be angry, the right to put your own needs first, the right to live selfishly as long as you do not harm others. When these rights are long neglected, they vanish from your consciousness. You will believe from the bottom of your heart that refusing someone is selfish, expressing anger is immature, and prioritizing yourself is shameful. You have internalized the collectivist, rules designed by society for easy management, and made them your own unshakable moral imperatives. At this point, yourself has been completely hollowed out. You have become an empty container filled with others' expectations, social norms, and cultural dogmas. You are alive, but you don't feel that you truly exist. You are like Dostoevsky's underground man, despising your own cowardice and hypocrisy in the depths of your heart, yet powerless to change. This is the ultimate picture of you becoming cheap. You are not just cheap in the eyes of others, but more importantly, you have become worthless in your own eyes. You have lost the courage to set your own price because you no longer even believe you are a treasure worthy of a price tag. You have defaulted to being free and an infinite supply. When you reach this point, you are not just going through a bad phase in life. You are unconsciously and systematically erasing all possibilities of you existing as you. Is this a price you can still afford to pay? If the previous words made you feel a sting, discomfort, or even anger, then congratulations. Because anger is the first ray of light in an awakening. It means that your long-suppressed, true self is finally starting to scream. It's telling you, enough, I don't want to live like this anymore. This anger is your most precious energy. It's not meant for you to destroy the world, but to demolish the prison called the good person that has caged your soul. So, how do you begin this rebellion? The answer isn't to immediately become a selfish, ruthless jerk. That's just swinging from one extreme to the other. The real rebellion is a profound, inside-out movement to reclaim your self-sovereignty. It involves 3 steps that will subvert your entire past worldview. Step 1. Redefine selfishness, treat it as a sacred duty. You must fundamentally overthrow the socially ingrained idea that selfishness is shameful. From now on, I want you to replace the word selfish with self-care or self-fidelity. Imagine your inner world as a kingdom that you must protect. Your time, energy, emotions, and attention are the most precious, non-renewable resources in this kingdom. As its king or queen, your primary duty is not to support neighboring countries, not to satisfy the requests of every passerby, but to ensure the prosperity, stability, and abundance of your own kingdom. Prioritizing your own needs is not selfish. It is your sacred duty to the kingdom of your own life. What can a depleted, barren kingdom truly offer to help others? You would only be giving from your own emptiness and lack. So, starting today, every time you want to refuse someone, don't silently chant, "I'm so selfish." Instead, say to yourself, "I am fulfilling my sacred duty to protect my inner kingdom." Every time you choose solitude to nourish yourself, tell yourself, "I am replenishing my kingdom's energy so it can exist more healthily." Turn selfish from a pejorative into a neutral or even honorable term. This is the first hammer to shatter your mental shackles. Step 2. Embrace small-scale betrayals. Start by annoying a few of the right people. You can't go from being a people pleaser to a person with clear boundaries overnight. You need practice. And the best training ground is in seemingly insignificant daily matters. Next time a colleague asks you to help with work that isn't your responsibility, say with a smile, but firmly, "I'm sorry, I'm tied up with something urgent right now, so I can't help." When a friend invites you to a party you have no interest in, tell them sincerely, "Thank you for the invitation, but I'd rather spend some time by myself tonight." Yes, they might be disappointed, surprised, or even feel that you've changed. That is the signal you need. Every time you annoy someone by setting a boundary, you are committing a small-scale betrayal. You are not betraying that person. You are betraying your old false persona of being always available. Remember this key point. Those who leave you because you set a healthy boundary are the very people you need to filter out of your life. They never loved you, only your convenience. Their departure is not your loss. It is your purification. Your task is not to keep everyone, but to find those who, even after you've said no, still choose to respect you and stay by your side. That is a real relationship. Like Nietzsche's Mensch, one must first betray all old values, shatter all decayed moral tablets, to create new values for oneself. Every small refusal you make is an act of legislating for your own life. Step 3. Stop explaining. Learn the power of silence. Good people have a fatal habit. After refusing someone, they immediately feel guilty and start explaining profusely. "I really can't go because I have ... and my mom." And tomorrow I need to ... double quotes. Why are you explaining? Because your subconscious still believes that refusal is wrong, and you need a justifiable reason to defend your crime. True power lies in not explaining. After you have said no, simply, clearly, and calmly, close your mouth. Endure the silence that follows. Those few seconds of awkwardness are your withdrawal symptoms. You are weaning yourself off the dependency on others' approval. It will be uncomfortable at first. You'll feel like the air has frozen. But if you hold on, you'll find that the sky hasn't fallen. The other person will either accept it or move on. The world will keep spinning. This silence declares to the other person, and more importantly, to yourself, my decision does not require your approval. My boundaries are sacred and inviolable. I respect you, but I also respect myself. Think about the people you truly admire, whether historical thinkers or modern entrepreneurs and artists you look up to. Are they the type to repeatedly apologize and explain their decisions? No. Their power comes precisely from their conviction in their own judgment and their reverence for their own time. This rebellion is not a noisy revolution, but a quiet, internal coronation. You are transforming from a subject begging for approval to a self-ruling sovereign. With every small refusal, with every brave silence, your throne becomes a little more stable. It is hard, but it will make you feel, for the first time, that you are not playing a life, but truly owning it. As you walk through anger, through rebellion, as you clumsily begin to practice refusal and guard your boundaries, you might think that this is the final answer, to learn to be tough, to be selfish, to protect yourself. But this is not the end. This is only half the journey. If you stop here, you might become a constantly vigilant, prickly defender, no longer cheap, but also having lost the ability to connect deeply with the world. The ultimate epiphany, the truth that will turn your worldview 180 degrees, is hidden behind all of this. It is both cruel and infinitely compassionate. This truth is, you do not need to earn anyone's love or respect, because your value as a human being is inherent, unconditional, and has nothing to do with your actions, others' opinions, or even your achievements. This concept sounds simple, like a cheap platitude, but I ask you to pause and to feel the weight of this sentence with your entire being. Everything you have done in the past, your pleasing, your compliance, your self-sacrifice, was based on a fundamentally flawed underlying assumption. You believed your value was conditional. You believed you had to do something to exchange for the right to be loved. You treated yourself like an employee who needs to pass a performance review to be granted permission to exist. This is a lie of cosmic proportions, and you have been its most faithful believer. Look at nature. Does a rose as it blooms need to prove its beauty to anyone? It simply blooms. Does a mountain as it stands need anyone's approval? It simply stands. Their value exists in their being, not their doing. You, as a unique miracle of life, a vessel of consciousness carrying billions of years of evolutionary wisdom, is your value less than that of a flower or a mountain? Your inherent sacred value was stamped with an eternal seal the moment you were born into this world. It does not increase by a fraction for a good deed, nor does it diminish by an iota for a refusal. It is absolute. It is constant. When you truly grasp this from the depths of your soul, an unprecedented sense of freedom will overwhelm you. You will find that you no longer need to use agreeableness to buy security, because your security comes from the certainty of your own intrinsic worth. You will find that you no longer fear others' negative judgments, because you know they are just opinions based on their own projections, and they cannot shake your mountain-like self-worth. You will find you don't even need to be deliberately tough. Your boundaries will form naturally, like a planet having its own gravitational field. It won't be a cold wall, but a gentle yet firm aura. People will instinctively sense it and respect it. And the most wondrous transformation will happen to your kindness. When you no longer do good out of fear, your kindness becomes, for the first time, authentic, pure, and powerful. You help others not to get something in return, but because it is the natural overflow of the love and energy from your own abundant inner kingdom. This kindness seeks no reward because it has already nourished you in the very act of giving. It is no longer a transaction. It is a creation. At that moment, you will truly understand the meaning of love. You no longer beg for love from the outside, because you are the source of love itself. You give because you want to give, not because you fear the consequences of not giving. Every act of giving is like the sun shining, not to illuminate anyone in particular, but because its very existence is light. So, my friend, this discussion about the more agreeable you are, the cheaper you become, does not ultimately point to a social skill to make you more cunning, nor a survival strategy to pit you against the world. It is an invitation for you to come home, an invitation to stop searching in the outside world, like an orphan, for evidence that you are worthy of love, an invitation to return to that inner sanctum within you that has never been defiled, never diminished, and remains forever whole and radiant. Go there. Reacquaint yourself with the you that is already, without any conditions, immeasurably precious. And then, carrying this unconditional self-acceptance, step back into the world. You will find that the world is still the same, but everything in your eyes has changed. You are no longer a product trying to fetch a good price on the market. You are the market itself. And your life, from that moment on, is truly yours to command. This exploration doesn't have to be a lonely one. If this resonated with you, subscribe, and let it be our promise for the next deep conversation. May you live expensive and free. We'll meet again.